Chapter 19 Summer of the Mariposas. The Musician. The musician is not a bullfighter, but he does know how to play and deceive. I listened to Papa's words with a suspicious ear. He seemed so sincere, so committed to us, that I almost put aside my reservations and allowed myself to be sucked into his whirlwind of affection, but I held back instead. I couldn't put my finger on it, but something didn't feel quite right. Perhaps it was my intuition that kept me away, the suspicious nature I developed since our journey in Mexico. More than likely, though, it was that solitary figure of Mama holding herself together alone, apart from my sisters, apart from Papa, apart from even me, her firstborn daughter, the closest thing she had to an ally. I was pondering my resistance when suddenly the twins' bedroom door flew open. Papa froze, took a deep breath, and then turned to look at the door to his left. "What's going on?" he asked, releasing my sisters to stand up. Two pasty-faced girls walked out of Velia and Delia's room. They couldn't have been much younger than the twins, but they were shorter and very plump. Their dirty blonde hair was frizzled out, like unraveling kite strings dragged through too many hands, but they didn't seem to be concerned about what they looked like. They were too busy carrying a huge plastic sack between them. "Daddy," one of them whined, "we don't know what to do with this stuff. It smells bad." "Yeah, like cockroaches or something," the first girl blurted out, her muddy brown eyes settling on us for the first time. "What in the helicopter," Velia started, "were you doing in our room?" Delia finished her twin sister's thought, looking at Mama for an explanation. "Sarah!" Papa called out to someone who came rushing out of Juanita's bedroom to the left of us. Shock ran up my spine and jolted me into awareness as I watched a tall, narrow-hipped blonde woman walk past us in the hall like she owned the place. She went to stand next to Papa in front of the kitchen door and clung to his arm as if to show that she had possession of him now. "Ernesto," the woman said, her eyes glittering with something like malice or spite as she looked at each of my sisters and then settled on Mama. "There's no use dragging this on. Por favor, diles, just tell them what's going on and be done with it, amor." Papa's eyes made contact with mine, and then he cast his gaze downward to the floor, as if he were embarrassed. "I thought we talked about this," he said quietly, almost inaudibly. "Now is not the time." Suddenly, I understood everything. The arguments with Mama, his inappropriate riddle for La Serena the last time we had played Loteria as a family, the disconnected phones, his unexplained disappearance, it all made sense now. Papa had been having an affair with this woman, and now he had brought her here to our house. Looking at her dispassionate face, I wondered how Papa could have traded our sweet, loving Mama for this cold woman. What hold could such a manipulating woman have on him? Thick, molten hot anger welled up inside me as I waited for an explanation. "Now is not the time for what?" I asked Papa in a terse voice, barely suppressing the rage simmering inside of me. "Now is not the time for this." Papa pointed toward the woman's daughters who were still holding the huge plastic sack between them. "We have to talk about the situation. Let everyone get used to the idea." Papa snarled at the blonde woman from between clenched teeth, the way he always did when he was running short on patience. "I know, I told them, but you know how they are," the woman whispered into Papa's ear, smiling slyly at Mama, who put a hand over her mouth and shook her head in shock. Or maybe it was disbelief or embarrassment. I couldn't tell which. "Girls, please put that back," Papa asked. "But we're cleaning our room. There's too much stuff in there," the little one said, pointing to Velia and Delia's room. "What?" Velia said. "You mean this is our stuff?" Delia demanded, reaching for the huge plastic sack and yanking it away from them. The girls held onto the sack while Velia and Delia pulled with all their might. The tug-of-war ended almost before it began as the sack ripped and articles of clothing spilled everywhere. "These are my clothes," Velia said. Disgusted, the woman's daughters threw the ripped sack on the floor in front of the twins. Velia gathered up an assortment of jeans, shorts, and shirts, holding them in front of her like they were misplaced treasures. Delia pointed to the sandaled feet of one of the girls. Hey, those are mine. Why are you wearing my chanclas? Take them off, you fat little thief. They were in my room, but you can have them. The girl slid the pretty white sandals off and tossed them with her feet in Delia's direction. The sandals landed in front of Delia with a thud. Without taking her rabid eyes off the thief, Delia kicked both sandals aside. I could tell by the violent nature of that kick that she would never wear those chanclas again. Juanita stooped down and picked up the rest of the clothes from the floor and handed them to Velia. You can't stay here. This isn't a hotel. Ladies, Papa said. He had disentangled himself from the blonde woman and came to stand between the twins and the woman's daughters. Let me explain. Yeah, tell them, Daddy. This is our house now, the older of the two sisters said, tossing her disheveled hair back with a flick of her hand. It is not. This house belongs to us. Velia stepped behind the strange girls, threw her sister's clothes inside her room haphazardly, and closed the door to her bedroom to punctuate her words. Stay out of there if you know what's good for you. You have no right to be here, Delia said, kicking at the girl nearest to her. She didn't make actual contact, though, because Papa put his hand on her shoulder and held her at bay. Your house stinks like a lice farm, the older of the strange girls said. No sooner had she spoken than Delia slipped out of Papa's grasp, and both Delia and Velia threw themselves on the invading sisters, who were knocked to the floor. Papa reached in to stop them, but the twins were too fast for him. Raining blows, como molinos, Delia and Velia were two demonic lechuzas, shrieking out their outrage in Spanish and cursing the intruders for their transgressions. Stop it right now, Papa yelled, taking each of the twins in turn and peeling them off the two other girls who were wailing miserably on the floor. Mama, who up to now I assume had been too embarrassed to speak, was suddenly standing right in the middle of things. She was holding Velia and Delia in front of her, arms wrapped around them, securing them. Girls, I've told you before, no matter how mad you are, fighting doesn't solve anything. They started it, Delia spat out, straightening her shirt. Yeah, Velia continued. They mess with our stuff, they mess with us. Mama let go of the girls and made the twins turn around to face her before she spoke again. Please apologize. I'm sorry, Velia mumbled to no one in particular. Sorry, Delia whispered, half-heartedly as Mama stroked her arm and held her and Velia close. Delia, Velia, Papa's tone of voice was downright stern. You can't mistreat Allison and Ashley like this. They're going to be part of our family from now on, and we don't hurt our family. What are you talking about? I asked. What do you mean they're going to be part of the family? Are they yours? They're my stepdaughters, or they will be as soon as the divorce goes through, Papa said. He took the strange girls into his arms and hugged them to himself. His words, delivered so swiftly and with such disregard for our feelings, cut through me like the blade of a guillotine. My stomach lurched and tightened and lurched again. Abuelita said that Papa was divorcing Mama, but she didn't mention that he had another woman and two other daughters. She told us he wanted to start a new life, but she neglected to inform us that he had a whole other family that did not include us. Now, let's try this again, Papa cooed into the two pasty girls' ears as he kissed them and then turned around to look at us. Ladies, this is Ashley, he said, placing his hand on the younger girl's head. And this is Allison, he continued, referring to the older girl. They are going to be your stepsisters, your hermanitas, and we're all going to live here together. So please, try to be nice. Live together? Juanita's eyes sparked with derision. Here? You mean you all, us, and Mama? Who do you think we are, the freaking Brady Bunch? The whole thing was beyond ridiculous. Even the Brady Bunch only had one mother and one father. The girl's mother stepped forward and reached for my hands, as if she and I could ever be friends. I know this must be very hard on you girls. Hard? I asked, feeling the boiling anger rising up in me again. I pulled away before she could touch me and moved back to stand next to Mama, who had retreated from the familial scene and was standing by the front door, looking more and more like a ghost of a woman. Lady, this is beyond hard. This is absurd. What did you think? That we were going to just hug and kiss and act like this is all right? No, it's not all right. None of it. Not the surprise reunion, not the home invasion, and certainly not the fake sisterly love. And what about Mama? Where does she fit into this picture perfect story of yours? Where is she supposed to live, Papa? Well, we can't very well all live here, Papa said, looking at his new woman. The intimacy of that look made my stomach tighten again. They had secret plans, plans that didn't involve Mama. You're such a. I started, but then I had to stop because the tears were rolling down my face so heatedly that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to control myself. I needed to be in control of my emotions if I was going to help Mama not get thrown out of her own home. Say it, Papa taunted, his fist at his side as if ready to strike. Don't be afraid to say it. I'm not a what, Odelia? You're a jack. Velia began stumbling on the word, too upset or maybe too hurt to spit it out. A jack-o'-lantern, Delia yelled, her face stained with tears as she backed away from the scene. She stood with her back pressed against the paneled wall of the narrow hallway between her bedroom and the kitchen. You have that big old grin on the outside, but inside you're all hollow and empty. I was proud of the girls for not cussing, but I was even more proud of them for hitting the nail right on the head this time. She's right, I said. You have no heart. Papa froze for a moment, and then he hung his head and shook it from side to side, as if to show his disappointment. But the twins were beyond caring. They were disgusted, and it showed in the way they looked at Papa, as if they wanted to shoot him. It doesn't matter what you say, Papa said, looking only half in control of his own emotions. He clenched and unclenched his fists at his sides. I am the man of this house. I say who goes and who stays. And I say your mother has to go. You are my daughters, and as your father, it is my duty to do what's best for you. Her mothering has not served you well. Look at you all. You look like vagrants. Even street urchins are cleaner than you are. What have you been doing? Rosalinda, sending them off to beg for limosnas? You ought to be ashamed of yourself. We looked fine to me. We had a little dunk in the river this morning, but other than that, we were radiant. You're the one who should be ashamed of yourself, coming here and acting like you have any right to us or our home, I said, my voice trembling with pent-up emotion. Tell me, did you ever have any intention of coming back here? If we hadn't gone missing, would you have returned to us? Were you ever going to tell us what was really going on? Papa stood perfectly still, his eyes cold, distant even as he held hands with his new woman. How long have you had two families? Is this your Serena, la mujer from your riddles, the one who wanted to take you away? I thought you said you wouldn't let her, I taunted. That's quite enough, Papa said, putting his hand out as if to stop me from going on. What's done is done. The important thing is that I'm home now and things are going to change around here. Change? I walked over to him, blocking him from Mama and the rest of my hermanitas, getting into his face. We're not tortas you can't take out of the oven and set aside to cool off while you dilly-dally with the whole other life. Families are supposed to be important, and that's one thing you never did, make us important. And now you want to take away the only real parent we've ever had? Well, it's not going to happen. We're not going to let you get rid of Mama. I moved away from Papa and went to stand between Mama and the twins. I took her hand in mine and held it tight. My hermanitas gathered around us, clinging to Mama. This is our house. You don't live here anymore. You never did. Everyone knows it. The whole neighborhood talks about it. You're a desparecido, a vagabond, a lost cause. So why don't you do what you do best? Why don't you just get lost? Yeah, leave, Velia said. Delia crossed her arms. We don't need you anymore. I thought you said they were nice, Papa's woman said, turning her nose up at us as she reached for her two sniveling daughters and pulling them close. Oh, you haven't begun to see just how nice we are, lady, Juanita broke in, her Amazonian frame blocking Papa as she stood in front of my sisters protectively. But you're about to find out. Rosalinda! Papa's voice was clipped, enraged. Say something! I can't believe you let these girls act like this. Como de miras? You're a disgrace as a mother. I might be a disgrace as a mother, but you're not winning any Father of the Year contest either, Tredor, Mama said, confidence creeping into her voice. The girls have a right to be mad at you. You've done nothing but put them aside all their lives. And now you have the gall to bring this usurper into our home, To parade your new family in front of us like we were less worthy of your affection? How dare you? Mamma's eyes flashed. Her nostrils flared and her mouth was set into a straight, thin line, like a she-wolf snarling fiercely as she protected her cubs. She was beautiful to me. Everything we'd wanted her to be since Papa left. And what am I supposed to do, Rosalinda? Papa asked, lifting his hands, palms up, helpless. Stay with you? I don't love you anymore. Papa's words punched me in the gut. Instinctively, I turned to Mamma, half expecting her to cry. But to her credit, she didn't budge. She stared coldly at Papa like he was a stranger to her. Shaking her head, she smiled and spoke to him again in that strange, even tone she takes when she's dead serious. You heard them, she said. Leave. Yeah, Delia and Belia said. Leave. My sisters kept repeating each other's words over and over again, as if once or twice just wasn't enough. Leave, leave, get lost. Fine, I'll leave, Papa said, turning to his woman and her children huddled behind him. But don't come crying to me when you don't have money to buy groceries and there's no food on the table. Ernesto, Papa's woman balked at his retreat. We can't go. You said we'd live here, that house would be ours. But this isn't his house, I said, and he has no claims to us. We are 5 little sisters, 5 hermanitas, together forever, no matter what. And who's going to take care of you? Papa's voice was deep now, regretful almost. Who's going to provide? What a question for him to ask when he hadn't sent us anything for almost a year. I had a feeling that a court would make him pay child support. But even if the law didn't make him do the job he wouldn't do on his own, I knew something he didn't. The Virgen will provide, I said, pointing at the flowers sitting in their vase on the coffee table beside us. La Virgen de la Cueva, our mother in heaven, the protector of women and children, will take care of us. She has been with us all along, guiding us, protecting us. All we have to do is have faith and believe. You're as crazy as your mother, Papa's woman said, pushing Juanita out of her way as she tried to get past us to the front door. Don't you ever lay a finger on my daughters again, Mama howled, her anger propelling her into action. Papa's woman didn't know what hit her. Before she knew what had happened, she was flat on her butt on the floor in front of Mama. Ernesto! Mama screamed. Get this piece of trash out of here before I drag her out de las greñas. This isn't the way I wanted things to go, Papa warned as he helped his woman up. But it's not the end of it either. You'll be hearing from my lawyer. Good, Mama said. She went to the front door and opened it in a swift, determined pull. I hope you have a good lawyer, because you've definitely got a fight on your hands. I've already filed for custody of the girls and the right to keep my house, the house that my father built for us, for me and my daughters, before he died. Rights? You have no rights. Go on then, go. Have a nice life. It took Papa less than a minute to move, to make his decision. But I could tell by the way he walked out, without looking back, that he wouldn't return.